And here it is, the finale, the actual finale, I swear to God, of Disney versus Vampires. A now 5-part story that started out was just a random idea in my head, and then it spiraled into this. Yeah. So here we are. Let's talk about it. Disney versus Vampires, Nation of Darkness. So, Nation of Darkness is set 6 months after the last story, which was the Blood Wars. In that story, Dipper, now Lord of Vampires, has killed one of his two adversaries, Ambercranth, who was a ancient vampire who wanted to take over. Dipper killed him, ate his heart, and now took his army as well. Not only that, United Nations have conceded giving him Chernobyl, making it a sovereign nation for the first sovereign nation of vampires. However, Dipper still has one problem. He is still at war with one other adversary, and that is Elizabeth Bathory, who is currently in Russia and has her own plans. So 6 months have passed since Dipper has defeated Ambercranth, and a lot is going on in the world. The people of literally every human on Earth is really against the idea of giving the vampires a nation, their own country. Like, people are in outrage that the vampires were given a country, a country, and this actually leads to a lot of conspiracy theories that perhaps what had happened was that maybe governments are still infiltrated by vampires like they did under Dracula's regime, and it leads to a lot of distrust in the government, a lot of distrust in heroes, because it's found out that the heroes actually united with Mason in order to kill this other vampire. And they also had a lot of sway. Kim especially had a lot of sway in convincing the United Nations in giving Mason and his horde Chernobyl, and making it the Nation of Shadows. The Nation of Darkness, Nation of Shadow, Nation of Darkness, same thing. So, yeah. So it's 6 months, and they're still getting the ropes of making their own little kingdom. And, yeah, Mason is still dealing with a lot. He's like, I didn't when I got my own nation, I didn't expect that this would be so much fucking paperwork. And they're all like, you should have. Mabel's like, you should have known, bro. It's just, this is just how it is. Like, this is how it is now. You are now you're for lack of a better word, you're now king of the undead. You are now the leader of the undead. Unless we vote, maybe we'll vote you out and make me the new empire, the new empress of vampires. And he's like, no. Yeah, he's like, the only way you were going to get me off this throne, it's not a throne, it's a chair. Shut up, Mabel. The only way you were going to get me off this throne is if you put a stake through my heart. And he's like, let's not forget, we're still waging a shadow war with Bathory. And that's revealed is that was the real reason they got Chernobyl and as their own sovereign nation, is because Mason was like, and Mason and Kim basically told the UN, listen, he's lesser of the two evils. Also, there's still another person out there who wants to take over the world. Her name's Elizabeth Bathory. Yes, that woman who killed hundreds of women and bathed in their blood. Turns out she became a vampire and is also still out there and wants to take over the vampire nation. So let him have his country, and he will fight Bathory in a shadow war. So that's the real reason, is that they conceded so long as Mason can find and kill Bathory. And where is Bathory? She is in Russia, and she's been planning something since Dracula unleashed the Forever Night. She actually was going to try to usurp him in war, but of course that didn't happen because Kim killed Dracula and ended the Forever Night. So what happened was that what followed next was essentially Bathory doing the next best thing, and she had been more or less making her own little empire in Russia. She's been more or less working with the Russian government. Working, I say, is that she's hypnotized several Russian scientists and military operatives to take over the army. And now that there's a sovereign nation for where her target is, she's like, yeah, I know what's going to happen next. And it's not Ukrainian soil anymore. We're just going to march in there with my vampire soldiers, and I'm going to kill that kid. I'm going to kill him and his whole little royal family. Meanwhile, you have another thing that is going on is that Toffee is still like adjusting to being resurrected. He's also like now from going a soldier, and he was called a general during the wars with the 2-year war with Dracula's empire. He has now been relegated by Eclipsa as ambassador, and she's like, war times are over. You're now, you're no longer needed as a soldier. You can be someone else. And he's like, all I've known is being a soldier. Even when I was wearing a suit, I was a soldier. I don't know what to do anything else. And she's like, maybe being an ambassador will help heal you. Like, maybe this can help you. So, and she makes Toffee the ambassador of Muni, which are like, yeah, we're still like mankind's still dealing with that world merge scenario. So there is that going on, and Toffee's still trying to deal with that. But as an added bonus, their first job, Eclipse is like, maybe something a little easy. I'm going to send you to Chernobyl, and since you can probably survive the radiation that's still there. And since they're vampires, they don't feel radiation. They're all undead. So they send Toffee as like, you can be our envoy, and also if you sense anything wrong, then you can come back to us. So, and keep an eye on him. Among other people who can survive the radiation is of course Macbeth, who shows up and he's like, lad, how goes being a king? And he's like, did you have to deal with this many people? And he's like, all the time. So Macbeth and him strike up a friendship because Dipper's king now of the king of the undead, and who better to learn how to rule than from Macbeth, who was a good king. Macbeth is also reporting to the gargoyles as well about the situation because they're still concerned that Dipper did plan on usurping Dracula from the beginning, so it would stand to reason he could still be a threat. However, you also have Randy, who is still dealing with the trauma of being a puppet for Dracula, and it's taken his toll on him and his relationship with Norrisville. It has essentially been such a taxing thing for him, and now what is going on is that Randy's preparing to give the mantle of the ninja to someone else. He's planning on giving the mantle he's planning on giving it to someone else. That someone he's planning on is giving it to Heidi. He's planning on making Heidi his successor. And the Nomicon is like, when Randy was a vampire, he reveals he destroyed it when he was a vampire, and that's one of the reasons why he's so set on moving on as the ninja and just kind of like wanting to find himself again. Everyone else has been kind of still picking up the pieces, and now after 6 months of still like worrying about Bathory and also Dipper, who is, Mason's still a problem. Mason is still a danger as well, but Mason has his own problems because what happens is one day while Stan is out on his own, he gets jumped by some assassin, some assassin sent by Bathory, and though Stan puts up a fight, he gets killed. Stan gets killed, and he gets killed, and his head is delivered to Mason directly, and Mason knows, like, it's Bathory, and she's made a declaration of war. She killed my uncle, and now I am going to burn everything to the ground. And he makes a statement by finding one of Bathory's bases and proceeding to more or less tie down all of her followers in the area to a post and wait and watch them as they all as the sun comes up. He like puts on a webcam and is just watching from his throne room with a little like sippy like a little juice box of blood, and he's just watching them. And he's like, nothing better than fried vampire in the morning, I tell you. But yeah, so Mason's gone full nuclear. But it's at that point when Bathory's vampire army that she's hijacked from Russia and has invaded Chernobyl. Now, the other nations like Ukraine and the other neighboring nations are like, we're not going to get into that. Mostly because they're like, maybe they'll destroy each other. And however, the heroes of the nation, because they're not tied, it's not like, they're not like tied down like some stupid, hero registration act. It's they decide to all jump in and help as well. So, and they're like, for the last time, hopefully this will be the last time we ever have to deal with fucking vampires ever again. And yeah, so all of the heroes unite for one big endgame-esque war. And yeah, Toffee, of course, has been like Toffee, who is there, who was one of the first people in Chernobyl. He actually gets excited during the Bathory's invasion. There's like a part of him who's like, oh, I'm fine. Like he was like because he actually confines, because him and Macbeth have a conversation, and he's like, I was, being made an ambassador in peacetime was something I never wanted. And he's like, oh, lad, if you get, he's like, I don't know how old you are, lad, but I'm sure I'm older than you. And he tells Toffee straight up, like, sometimes there's war times and sometimes there's peace times, and sometimes you have to learn to let go of what you were in the past and accept what you are now. And that's when the invasion hits, and Macbeth goes, maybe not let go of the past just yet. So everyone gets together. Bathory is there, and she's like, I hope I can't wait to send you all to meet with your uncle, with Stan. He put up a fight, but he just couldn't do it. So everyone's just ready to kill him, and Bathory shows how powerful she is by, she's like, I was almost as powerful as Dracula. And Kim goes, surprise, bitch, I killed, guess who killed him? The last of the Van Helsings. But Bathory's like, bitch, please. And it's just an all-out bloody fight. Vampires and other people are dying left and right. It's a mess. And Heidi makes her debut as the ninja. Just as Randy, who is going to just make it his final, appearance as the ninja one more time, he actually just he gets killed. Randy gets killed, and Heidi finally takes on the mantle of the ninja. It's pure chaos left and right, and Seuss gets killed. Bathory kills Seuss, and also takes out Ford as well. So yeah, we've lost 3 members of the Pines family right there. So it's Wendy, Mason, and Mabel who are left. And Mason goes, I am going to... this is going to end now. The two do battle, and it is like two gods going to war. It's like two titans battling it out. The two do battle. Mabel jumps in when Mason, when Bathory gets the upper hand on Mason, and she's like, "You consumed Dracula and Ambercrant's hearts, and you're still not strong enough. How is that?" And he's like, "Because I was holding back, and so was Mabel." And she's like, "Mabel," and that's when Mabel comes flying in, and just the two of them just gang up on her. But sadly, Mason gets killed by Bathory, and Mabel is like in just sadness, is like watching her brother die. And what happens is that Mason's like, "You know what to do, Mabel. You're the next in line." So Mabel eats her brother's heart and gains like that extra power boost, and just goes ape shit on Bathory, kills her, and consumes her heart, thus making her the new queen of the... Mabel becomes the undisputed queen of the vampires, but at a cost. She lost everybody, except Wendy, who's still alive, or unalive. And Wendy reveals that she and Mason got busy, so there's some undead twins on the way. But for now, Mabel is now queen of the vampires, and the nation of shadows has survived. So there you go, guys. And it is the end of the Vampire Wars. So there you go, guys. That is the end of the 5-part saga is at an end. Disney versus vampires is over. I swear. No more. Why are you still here? It's over. Go home. Oh, right, I forgot. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.